Good afternoon. Good Sunday afternoon, everybody. I came on here to talk because the Eagles now know who they are going to play in the first round. The Green Bay Packers will be coming to Philadelphia. It was between them and the Washington Commanders. And I know there's been a lot of talk this week about who you'd rather play, the Commanders or the Packers. I personally would rather play the Commanders very easily. I'll get into that. But first, I just wanted to start with the absurdity of the whole Saquon Barkley dilemma, if you would even call it that, this week. We all know he hit 2,000 rushing yards last week, and he had a chance to go for Eric Dickerson's rushing record. Granted, it would have taken him one extra game than Eric Dickerson's because the schedule was one less game back then. And I thought they would rest him, and the reaction from the fan base and the media in general would be, it's a smart thing to do. It's tough, but it is what it is. But instead, people have literally lost their brain cells over this. I mean, Dan Orlowski, Teddy Bruschi, the fan base, just everybody has lost their minds with, oh, well, they better win this Super Bowl now. I'm sorry. Did you think it became Super Bowl or bust when he had a chance to break the record and didn't? Not when they won 14 games? Not when they had like the second best winning percentage in the span of 3 years, second only to Kansas City Chiefs? That's what makes it Super Bowl or bust, not Saquon Barkley breaking a record. This ludicrous, just absolutely idiotic, I'm in my Stephen A. Smith bag right now, just ridiculous take that somehow if the Eagles were to lose to the Green Bay Packers on Saturday or Sunday, we'll find out soon, that it would be a successful season because Saquon Barkley broke the single season rushing record. I don't care. And nobody should care. If you care about that more than winning a Super Bowl, then I don't know what to tell you. So I had to get that off my chest. Anyway, back to analyzing the playoff matchup. I was hoping to face the Washington Commanders, and here's why. Jaden Daniels has been a revelation this year. He has been great. He has also taken 48 sacks, and Dan Quinn is a mediocre at best head coach. I don't care what he has accomplished this year. The Commanders are not very good. Saquon Barkley ran wild on them this year. They have Terry McLaurin. Other than that, they don't really have any weapons offensively. Zach Ertz is in the last leg of his career. He's doing well because he's playing with Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels just made him look good. Jaden Daniels, is a threat to run. We all know that. He ran wild on the Eagles. But here's the thing about Jaden Daniels, and I'll compare him to Jordan Love in this regard in a second. Jaden Daniels is also prone to taking sacks. He took 4 sacks today, and I don't even think he played half the game. He has 48 sacks on the season. Jordan Love, granted, I think he's played in 3 less games, something like that. He has 14 sacks. That is a remarkably low sack rate for a quarterback. And I know in this day and age, everybody loves to blame sacks on the offensive line. Unless you have just a truly brutal offensive line, sacks are usually a referendum on the quarterback. And I've gotten on Jalen Hurts about that at times as well. For Jordan Love to only have 14 sacks on the season, that's pretty incredible. That's a remarkably low sack rate, again, and it shows that he's able to get the ball out on time. It shows he's able to maneuver the pocket well, and it shows he's able to get rid of the ball in a timely manner when nothing isn't there. When nothing is there, excuse me. So, what does that say? It tells me that it's not easy for the defense to kill drives when the Green Bay Packers are driving the ball. When you don't get sacked, it allows you to continue, easy third downs, easy fourth downs if you go for it. And that's why they're so dangerous. And I know Jordan Love has, thrown, I believe, yes, 11 or 12, 13, somewhere around those interceptions. I mean, he threw like an interception every game to start the year, like the first 10 weeks or something like that. But when you take into account that he's not taking any sacks to go with that, it's really not that big of a deal, specifically because I don't think he's turned the ball over for a few weeks now. So he scares me more than Jaden Daniels does. Granted, Daniels is a threat to run, so you have to account for that. And I believe Jordan Love only has about 87 rushing yards this year, something along those lines. But he's great at extending the plays with his legs and finding guys downfield. So he beats you in other ways when extending the plays. And we all know the Eagles struggle at times to, they get pressure, but they don't really wrap up and tackle the quarterback. So that could be a thing to watch. Number two reason why I didn't want to face the Packers is Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur is one of the best head coaches in the NFL, one of the best offensive minds in the NFL. Malik Willis had to start for 3 weeks, and the Packers didn't miss a beat. Malik Willis was on the Titans, and it looked like he wasn't even good enough for the CFL, the Canadian Football League, or the Arena Football League, or the Women's Lingerie Football League, any of it. He was truly horrible. And he started for the Packers for 3 games, and they won games, and they didn't miss a beat. So he is an amazing offensive mind. He schemes guys open. He's aggressive. He's smart. And you take a quarterback in Jordan Love, who I believe is a top 10 quarterback, who can throw from any arm angle. He's very good at avoiding the rush. He's great at maneuvering in the pocket, and I think that is going to be tough to beat. Now, granted, I expect the Eagles to win, just like I would have expected them to win against the Commanders, but I think this will be a tougher game, and I think that's important for people to keep in mind. And now let's look at things from the Eagles' perspective. Jalen Hurts is going to have 3 weeks off heading into this game, so he's going to be rusty, and hopefully he's going to be healthy. It's going to be important to obviously establish the run, but for Jalen Hurts, he's going to have to get rid of the ball quickly, on time, 3-step drops out, those quick slants over the middle of the field, get the tight end involved. Dallas Goedert's back. That's important. You can't only be focused on Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. And most importantly, don't take sacks. I just talked about it with Jordan Love. Sacks are drive killers. It's important. Throw it away if you have to, but you got to be able to read the field quickly, take off and run if you don't have it. But you can't take sacks. Sacks are drive killers. You want to be on 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, 4th and 1 for a tush push if it comes to that, especially because Jake Elliott has struggled, and you're not going to be able to rely on kicking 40-plus yard field goals. You might miss a 30-yard field goal, so you've got to be really, really on your game in that regard. The defense, I'm fairly confident in. They have a drive here or there every week where, their run game kind of like falls apart, but they usually get it figured out. Vic Fangio, I'm confident in him making the adjustments when needed if the Packers have a scoring drive. But basically, I know it sounds cocky and, cliche, but really the only thing that can stop the Eagles is the Eagles. They can't have any of these pre-snap penalties, these false starts, illegal men downfield. You can't take sacks. You can't turn the ball over. Jalen Hurts has done an amazing job in not turning the ball over after the first few weeks of the season. He's got to do that in addition to not taking any sacks. We haven't really seen him throw the ball downfield as much, and I think that's mostly the defense kind of taking that away, and that's perfectly fine. Dink and dunk your way down the field if you have to. It's important to just take your shots when they're there, not force it. Just get the ball out quick. He should have plenty of time. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, the short intermediate part of the field. I would prefer if you don't ever run those Devontae Smith screen passes that are like 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. They never work. I really don't want to see any zone reads, but I know that'll be put in the game plan. I'm sure Jalen will keep a few and lose 2 yards running side to side. But for the most part, I expect the Eagles to win this game. But I just wanted to highlight some of the differences between the Packers and the Commanders and how we really should not be taking the Packers lightly at all. Granted, I think we will win, but it's going to be a tougher game than the Commanders would be. So we'll see what the news is heading throughout the week. Jordan Love has been banged up this season. He got banged up today. Hurt his elbow, I believe. He should be fine to start, but we'll monitor that throughout. And then we're going to keep an eye on Jalen Hurts' status and anybody else. I think pretty much everybody else is good to go. It's just Jalen Hurts that we're looking at. So he should be cleared to practice, but you never know. So we'll keep an eye on things. Right now, I'm fairly confident about our game against the Packers, but we will see how the week progresses and how the game on Sunday goes.